On the vast field stretching across the peaceful countryside, there's one opponent that farmers must always be wary of. It does not possess the overwhelming strength of a bear or the destructive power of a wild boar. Yet a single careless night can be enough for an entire flock of chickens to disappear without a trace. That opponent is a fox, a small predator renowned for its intelligence, patience, and remarkable adaptability. It all began when surveillance cameras repeatedly captured footage of a fox appearing around the farm buildings. Unlike many other predators, it did not charge directly toward its target. Instead, it spent several nights simply observing. It moved along the fences, paused in hidden corners, tested the wind, and memorized every change in its surroundings. With each appearance, it seemed to gather another piece of information for its next move. At first, the farmers reinforced the fences and increased the lighting around the property. These measures proved effective during the first few days. But the fox quickly adapted. It changed the times of its movements, appeared in areas with less light, and continued searching for weaknesses. Before long, fresh tracks began appearing once again in the soft soil behind the chicken coop. The battle which was far from over. Rather than reacting hastily, we began studying its habits. Cameras were placed along narrow trails running between the grassy fields and the tree lines. After days of observation, a pattern gradually emerged. The fox consistently chose the same travel corridor. It avoided large open spaces and preferred to stay close to the edges of brush where it could remain concealed. Each time it approached the farm, it stepped almost exactly where it had before, as though it were following an invisible path known only to itself. That behavior ultimately helped determine the ideal trap location. A steel foothold trap was carefully concealed beneath a thin layer of soil. Every dry leaf and every small blade of grass was arranged to preserve the natural appearance of the area. But setting the trap was only half the challenge. Foxes are well known for their ability to detect even the slightest changes in their environment. A single unfamiliar scent or an unusual disturbance could be enough to make it alter its route. For that reason, every step of the process was carried out with extreme care. The surrounding area was left undisturbed. There were no obvious objects and no signs that humans had recently been there. The following days passed in anticipation. The cameras continued to record the fox appearing regularly. It passed by the trap location many times, but always kept a safe distance. On some occasions, it stopped for several minutes, simply to observe its surroundings. Then the decisive moment finally arrived. Early one morning, while a blanket of fog still covered the ground, the camera sent back an unusual signal. Tracks led directly to the location that had been prepared days earlier. After weeks of checking, observing, and adjusting our strategy, all the planning had finally paid off. The key was not the trap itself, but understanding how the opponent thought and moved. This operation once again demonstrated that predator control is not as simple as setting a trap and waiting. Success always begins with observation. Every footprint in the soil, every section of fence that has been disturbed, and every appearance on camera represents an important piece of the puzzle. When those pieces are connected, they reveal the full story that nature has been quietly telling all along. In the wild, foxes are neither the largest nor the strongest animals. Yet their caution and adaptability have made them one of the most unpredictable opponents a farmer can face. And sometimes the most effective battle is not one fought through strength, but a prolonged contest of intelligence between human experience and the survival instincts that have been honed through countless generations of foxes.
Silently like a criminal. Yet the dole is classified as
Imagine a farmer waking up at dawn and finding nothing but scattered feathers behind the chicken coop. There were no loud noises during the night. No fences had been broken. Yet in just a few short hours, dozens of chickens had vanished. The culprit was the red fox, one of the most cunning predators in the British countryside. These animals move almost silently, use darkness to their advantage, and remember every weakness around a farm. Every year, thousands of poultry owners lose birds to these unexpected raids. But in areas such as Yorkshire, Devon, and Cornwall, local farmers have developed methods based on understanding fox travel patterns. Simple yet highly effective strategies that continue to be widely used today. Last winter, a farmer near Yorkshire began noticing something unusual.
2 pounds equals 50.
Every few nights, a few more chickens would disappear. An infrared camera finally revealed the culprit.
On the camera, calling the cubs up, so he's very much involved with looking after it.
a fully grown red fox appeared at almost exactly 3 o'clock in the morning. Instead of rushing straight toward the coop, it circled the area several times, carefully checking its surroundings. Once it was certain there was no danger, it quickly grabbed its prey and disappeared into the darkness within minutes. What worried the farmer most was the realization that the fox seemed to know the entire property by heart. While many people focused on building stronger fences or installing brighter lights, experienced farmers concentrated on something else: the fox's regular travel routes. After years of observation, they discovered that most foxes do not move randomly. Small paw prints in soft soil, flattened patches of grass, and gaps beneath fences all became valuable clues. One farmer once found a fox trapped beneath a fence, and that location helped him identify the route the animal frequently used. At that spot, he did not place bait out in the middle of a field. Instead, he positioned a specialized foothold trap directly along the fox's natural path. The trap was carefully concealed beneath a thin layer of soil and dry leaves. Every effort was made to minimize human scent and disturbance. Experienced trappers understood that foxes possess an extremely sensitive sense of smell. If they detect an unfamiliar scent or even a slight change in the ground, they may avoid the area for weeks. For several nights in a row, cameras recorded the fox following the same familiar route. It would stop, sniff the air, scan its surroundings, and continue forward. The distance between its denning area and the chicken coop remained nearly identical every night. Everything unfolded exactly as expected. On the 6th night, the decisive moment finally arrived. As the fox stepped into the location it used most often, the trap was triggered. In an instant, the animal was restrained before it could reach the poultry area. The following morning, the farmer checked the site and confirmed that the raids that had plagued the farm for months had finally come to an end. What made the result remarkable was that it did not rely on constant pursuit or endless searching. Instead, it relied on understanding the animal's behavior.
Let's let her go.
Meanwhile, the debate over predator control continues. Some people argue that foxes play an important role in controlling rodent populations in the wild. Livestock and poultry owners, however, believe they must protect their livelihoods from growing losses. Yet regardless of where people stand, most agree that foxes are among the smartest opponents farmers face. From Yorkshire to Devon, Cornwall, and rural communities across England, this quiet conflict continues night after night. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story, Please leave a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories in the future. Red foxes have proven that danger does not always come from strength alone. Sometimes it comes from patience, intelligence, and an extraordinary ability to adapt in the darkness. After many consecutive nights, a fox appeared around the livestock area behind the farm. The animal moved along the fence and observed the poultry coop while searching for food. With its reddish-brown fur and quick movements, the fox often used dark areas or places covered with vegetation to approach the enclosure. The farmer directly saw the animal appearing many times near the chicken coop on different nights. After each appearance of the fox, the number of poultry inside the coop decreased noticeably, making the level of damage more serious for the farming area. After clearly identifying the animal around the farm as a fox, the farmer began monitoring its movement routes around the livestock area. The animal often followed the edges of fences, narrow trails, or areas covered with vegetation to avoid being detected while approaching the enclosures. Small footprints repeatedly appearing in the same places showed that the fox had formed familiar routes around the farm. Several patches of flattened grass near the fence also helped the farmer determine the animal's activity range before deploying a trapping system to control the damage. As the signs of fox activity became more obvious, the farmer started preparing trap systems at locations where the animal was suspected to pass through frequently during the previous days. Areas near fences, narrow pathways, or the edges of dense vegetation were prioritized because they matched the fox's familiar movement routes around the farm. Bait with a strong smell was prepared to increase the chances of attracting the animal to the trap locations more quickly. Throughout the setup process, the surrounding environment was kept natural to avoid creating changes that could make the fox cautious and cause it to switch to another route. Foxes are wild animals that usually live in forests, grasslands, or areas with dense bushes. As natural habitats gradually shrink, they begin moving closer to human settlements to search for more accessible food sources. Poultry and small animals in farming areas become convenient targets for foxes over long periods of time. The repeated appearance of the animal directly affects farming activities and increases losses for farmers around the area. If not controlled in time, the damage could continue for an extended period. After completing the trap installation, the farmer continued adjusting the positions based on new signs appearing around the livestock area during the following days. Several traps were moved directly onto the exact routes frequently used by the fox instead of remaining in the old positions as before. The surrounding area was still kept natural to avoid changing the animal's behavior during its movement and food searching activities. At the same time, the entire trapping system was checked regularly to ensure stable operation, firmness, and that nothing shifted due to environmental effects or other animals. After many days of continuous monitoring, the farmer discovered that the trap near the fence had been triggered early in the morning behind the farm. Around the trap location, many footprints and disturbed soil appeared, showing that the fox had approached the bait during the previous night. The animal was held inside the trapping system after the closing mechanism operated exactly as originally planned. After inspecting the surrounding area, the farmer realized that the previous arrangement perfectly matched the fox's familiar movement routes around the farm. From that point on, the disappearance of poultry began to decrease significantly. After many days of monitoring and adjusting the trap positions more appropriately, the number of foxes returning to the livestock area gradually decreased over time. The farmer continued checking fences, narrow pathways, and areas where traces had previously appeared in order to protect the animals and maintain long-term stability for the entire farm in the future.
At the edge of the farm, everything began not with loud attack, but with very small signs. A few chickens disappeared beyond the fence. Soft soil held delicate footprints like strokes of a drawing, and around the coop, the scent of the wild lingered in the early morning mist like a silent warning. At first, people thought it was only a fox passing through during the night, but when the tracks reappeared day after day, always along the same narrow trail, everyone realized the animal was no longer hunting at random. It had memorized the farm. foxes do not rely entirely on strength. They survive through patience, memory, and an almost unbelievable sense of suspicion. A new fence, an unfamiliar light, or even a faint scent of a human is enough to make them change direction. That is why cage traps placed too openly quickly become useless. The fox could circle around them, sniff for a long time, even stand several meters away to observe, before disappearing back into darkness as if it had never been there. Because of that, the control team decided to switch to a steel foothold trap, not placed openly beside bait, but positioned directly along the fox's unavoidable travel route. This kind of trap required careful calculation rather than luck before setting it. They spent the entire morning reading the signs on the ground. Small tracks, pressed deeper at the front, show that the fox often shifted its weight onto one point while crossing a low mound near the fence. A nearly invisible trail revealed itself through lightly flattened grass, where the fox had passed so many times that the ground itself seemed to remember the rhythm of its footsteps. The trap was buried beneath a thin layer of soil at the exact spot where the fox was most likely to place its paw while slipping through the narrow path. Every movement was carried out slowly and discreetly. The disturbed soil was spread back to match its original color. Dry leaves were returned as though they had never been touched, and even broken blades of grass were carefully covered so nothing looked out of place. The goal was not to create an obvious trap, but to restore the familiar landscape so perfectly that the fox would notice no change at all. With an animal this cunning, a single unfamiliar scent, a patch of fresh dirt, or even a stone lying in the wrong place could make abandon the trail forever. Night fell slowly. Wind moved through the wooden fence, carrying the sound of rustling leaves and the smell of damp earth after rain. Infrared cameras captured the fox appearing at the edge of the woods, faint like a reddish-gray shadow gliding across the grass. It did not rush forward. It stopped, lifted its head, tested the air, then stepped forward one careful stride at a time. So cautious it almost seemed to measure every distance by instinct alone. That was the moment everyone held their breath. The fox moved past the first bush, paused beside the old fence post, then continued along the familiar trail. It had traveled this route too many times, enough to believe it was safe, but that very sense of familiarity became its weakness. The instant its front paw touched the concealed ground, the trap snapped shut. There was no prolonged chaos, only a sudden movement in the darkness, and then the fox was held on the very path it had once controlled. The following morning, the control team returned while mist still covered the grass in white. The fox was secured in a condition that allowed it to be handled according to local wildlife management procedures. For those who had worked in this field for years, the goal was never to create a cruel chase, but to prevent repeated damage, protect livestock, and reduce conflict between humans and wildlife. In nature, every species has its own way of surviving, and to control an intelligent animal like a fox, humans cannot rely on force alone. They must read tracks, understand habits, respect its instinctive caution, and act at the right moment. Because sometimes, to protect a farm, the most important thing is not where the trap is placed, but how deeply people understand the invisible path of predator. For years, farmers across North America have had to deal with a wide range of wildlife causing damage to their properties. Among them, foxes are one of the most common predators found around livestock areas. Unlike wild hogs, they do not destroy crops, but they can cause significant losses to poultry, especially chickens, ducks, and other small farm animals. When attacks continue for weeks at a time, setting up trapping systems becomes a necessary step to protect livestock and reduce losses for farmers. The first trap was placed along the northern fence line of the farm, where surveillance cameras had repeatedly recorded a fox appearing in the early morning hours. The area contained several narrow trails running through low brush, suggesting it was part of the animal's regular travel route. After carefully concealing the trap, we left the site and allowed it to operate overnight. The following morning, fresh tracks around the area showed that the fox had come very close. However, it remained cautious enough to avoid stepping into the exact position needed. Although the result was disappointing, it provided valuable information for the next deployment. Without wasting time, the second trap was moved to another location near the farm's chicken coop. This area had experienced repeated poultry losses over the previous weeks. Tracks on the ground showed that the fox typically approached from a dense tree line along the edge of the field before quickly disappearing.
After all.
Before sunrise, everything was prepared carefully before nightfall. By the next morning, the system had recorded much clearer activity. A young fox had finally been captured after repeatedly returning to the livestock area. The situation was handled carefully to ensure safety and minimize stress on the animal.
Heck yeah.
Over the following days, tracking efforts expanded into the western grass fields. Several narrow trails running along the forest edge suggested that more than one fox might be using the same hunting area. Based on information collected from cameras and tracks, the control team decided to set an additional trap at the intersection of two major travel routes. It was considered a strategic location because nearly all fox activity in the area appeared to pass through this point. When dawn arrived on the next inspection day, the results exceeded expectations. A fox had been successfully captured after repeatedly returning to the area over several nights. As we approached, it continued moving around inside the trap, searching for a way out. Camera footage also revealed that foxes regularly use the same travel routes before approaching the farm. This information gave the team a much better understanding of the behavior of these intelligent predators. Unlike many other animals, foxes often change their routes when they detect something unusual, making effective control a task that requires patience and precision. The final trap was deployed near a small creek deep within the forest, an area frequently visited by wildlife. It was also a location that had appeared multiple times on motion-activated camera footage. After completing the setup, the team left and waited for results. Around midnight, an alert from the camera system was sent directly to a phone. When we opened the live feed, we discovered a fox trapped inside. It continued moving around, trying unsuccessfully to escape, confirming that the plan had worked exactly as intended. This fox control operation produced several important results. However, like many other wildlife species across North America, foxes will continue returning as long as food sources remain available. That is why combining surveillance systems, protective fencing, and appropriate control measures remains essential for farmers looking to protect their livestock over the long term. If you would like to follow more real-world wildlife control operations like this one, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss future adventures.
For many consecutive days, residents around the area noticed a fox that frequently moved near farms and livestock facilities. The animal usually appeared during quiet hours when few people were around, and spent much of its time searching for food near places where small domestic animals were kept. Because of its cautious nature, the fox preferred routes with vegetation, bushes, or concealed terrain to avoid being seen. Through repeated observation, local residents discovered that it regularly followed familiar paths connecting fields, gardens, and livestock areas. Its repeated appearances over a long period showed that this was no longer an isolated incident, but a growing concern for the community. In the days that followed, the fox continued appearing near residential areas and farms throughout the region. It often traveled along field edges, moved beside fences, or slipped unnoticed into places where poultry and other small animals were raised. Several livestock owners began noticing that animals were disappearing without any obvious explanation. As sightings of the fox became more frequent, people gradually concluded that it was responsible for the recent losses. The animal's constant presence caused concern among residents because they feared it would continue returning and creating further damage. Faced with this situation, many people agreed that suitable control measures needed to be implemented to protect livestock and reduce future losses. After identifying the locations where the fox appeared most frequently, residents began installing a trapping system in carefully selected areas. Places near trails, fence lines, and dense vegetation were prioritized because they matched the animal's normal movement patterns. Bait was prepared and positioned carefully to increase the chances of attracting the fox. Throughout the setup process, the surrounding environment was left almost unchanged to avoid altering the animal's natural behavior. Every trap was thoroughly inspected before being put into operation to ensure reliable performance. Once all preparations were complete, residents continued monitoring the area and waiting for results. Although human activity in the area had increased noticeably, the fox continued returning to familiar locations in search of food. It followed the same routes it had used for many previous days and showed no indication of leaving the region. From time to time, the animal was seen near livestock enclosures before quickly disappearing into nearby bushes or open fields. These repeated appearances demonstrated that the fox was maintaining its normal feeding habits despite changes in its surroundings. This convinced local residents that the animal had not yet detected the presence of the trapping system. Its confidence allowed it to continue operating within areas that were already being closely monitored. During the following days, the fox passed repeatedly through locations where traps had been installed. The bait appeared to attract its attention more strongly with each visit. Whenever it approached the area, the animal spent time observing its surroundings before gradually moving closer to the trap location. Over time, the distance between the fox and the trapping system steadily decreased. Because it continued following the same familiar travel routes, the animal returned to the area night after night. Its frequent presence around the bait suggested that the chances of success were steadily increasing. Residents remained attentive and continued monitoring developments. After many days of waiting, the desired result finally arrived. During a routine inspection one morning, residents discovered that a trap had been triggered in an area where fox activity had often been recorded. Around the location were footprints and disturbed patches of soil, indicating that the animal had approached the bait during the night. Upon closer examination, people confirmed that the fox had been successfully contained within the trapping system. This outcome demonstrated that selecting trap locations according to the animal's movement habits had been an effective strategy. Following the capture, livestock losses declined significantly, and daily life in the area gradually began returning to normal. The successful control of the fox helped restore stability to the livestock area. Residents continued monitoring the surroundings and protecting their animals to reduce the risk of similar incidents in the future. This experience highlighted the importance of early detection and timely action whenever wild animals appear near residential communities. Through cooperation, observation, and consistent monitoring, the community managed the situation effectively and prevented further losses. Their efforts provided a valuable example of responsible wildlife management and community protection.
Night falls over the cold outskirts of North America, covering poultry coops and grassy yards with a fragile sense of calm. Under the fading light of dusk, everything seems safe. But once darkness fully takes over, another kind of movement begins. Quiet to the point of being unnoticed, fast to the point of being almost invisible. Red foxes do not appear by chance, but follow routes memorized over countless nights. Raids repeat, poultry disappears without a trace, footprints come and go, and the damage continues season after season. Simple cage traps quickly reveal their limitations. They can only hold one individual, while the others learn at an astonishing speed. After just a few observations, foxes begin avoiding areas with metallic scents or unusual signs. They even change their movement timing, taking longer routes to completely bypass danger zones. Farmers gradually realize the problem is not the number of traps, but the approach itself. It cannot be handled piece by piece, but must directly target the animal's movement habits. The control process does not begin with setting traps, but with observation. Small trails along fences, footprints pressed into mud, and locations where poultry is repeatedly attacked, all are carefully recorded. Unlike wild boars that move in large groups, foxes operate alone or in pairs, yet remain extremely loyal to familiar routes. And those routes become the key. Instead of placing traps randomly, every position is selected based on where the fox will certainly pass. Once the locations are determined, foothold traps are deployed. Steel traps lie low against the ground, carefully concealed beneath a layer of soil and dry leaves. From the outside, there is no sign of a mechanical device beneath. Each trap is secured with a strong cable, anchored to a steel stake driven deep into the ground to ensure it cannot be dragged away. Every detail is handled with precision. No foreign scent, no visible difference from the natural surroundings. Next comes bait placement, not to attract from a distance like large trapping systems, but to create a precise stopping point. A small amount of bait is placed directly above the trigger point, just enough to make the fox stop, sniff, and take one more step. That single step activates the mechanism. For an animal as cautious as a fox, every factor must be calculated carefully, from wind direction and bait placement to the natural appearance of the camouflage. As night falls, the area becomes silent. But it is not peaceful. It is the peak activity period for foxes. Along a familiar route, one individual appears. It moves slowly, stopping frequently to check the air. Everything seems normal. No strange scent, no sign of danger. It moves closer, step by step, and then places its paw exactly where it has been prepared. The trigger activates in an instant. A metallic snap closes, quick and decisive. The fox reacts immediately, jerking back, twisting its body in an attempt to escape. But the trap has already secured its front leg. Not with brute force, but with precise pressure, enough to hold without causing serious injury. It pulls, it twists, but the anchored cable renders every effort useless. Before leaving, the trap site is restored to its original state. The soil is covered again, scent is controlled, and all signs of interference are erased. Because for foxes, even the smallest change is enough to make them avoid an area forever. The success of this method does not lie in catching a single individual, but in maintaining the invisibility of the system over many consecutive nights. In the end, farmers understand that foothold traps are not a quick solution, but a strategy that demands patience and precision. There is no place for luck in this process. Only observation, a deep understanding of behavior, and placing the right point at the right time. When all these elements come together, silent intrusions gradually disappear, restoring the quiet that once belonged to the land.
It all began when chickens on a farm started disappearing day after day without anyone knowing why. There were no witnesses, no clear traces, and no unusual sounds recorded during the night. Every morning, the owner would wake up to find fewer chickens and a growing sense of concern. But the security cameras revealed a completely different story. The culprit was neither rushing its attacks nor appearing by chance. It had been observing the area for several nights, memorizing every route, and only moving when everything became completely quiet. What surprised the owner most was that the animal seemed to know exactly how to approach the chicken coop without being detected. That was the moment the trapping operation began. Foxes are predators that are primarily active at night. They usually leave their shelters when the surrounding area becomes quiet and human activity decreases. On farms with weak protective measures, poultry coops can quickly become an attractive food source. Once a fox discovers a reliable source of food, it often remembers a location and returns repeatedly using the same route. This is why many farmers only realize there is a problem after their poultry numbers begin to decline over time. After confirming the fox's presence, the farmer continued monitoring the cameras for several consecutive nights. The footage showed that the animal appeared at almost the same time every night. Once its travel route was identified, the next step was selecting a trap location and using bait such as chicken, sheep, or goat to attract it. On many farms, metal cage traps are commonly used because they're easy to manage and suitable for areas close to homes. The effectiveness of trapping does not depend on the number of traps, but on their accuracy. One trap placed in the right location is often far more valuable than several traps placed randomly. However, setting traps does not mean monitoring can stop. Cameras continue operating every night to record any changes in the animal's behavior. If its travel route changes, the trap location must be adjusted accordingly. In many cases, once access to the chicken coop becomes more difficult, the frequency of fox visits begins to decline. The combination of observation and continuous adjustment allows farmers to stay proactive rather than simply reacting after losses have already occurred. In addition to traps and cameras, many farms also use guard dogs to strengthen their defenses. Dogs can detect the presence of unfamiliar animals from a considerable distance and immediately provide a warning. Their presence makes foxes more cautious when approaching livestock areas. Some livestock guardian breeds are even trained to patrol around the coop during the night. When foxes realize an area is being regularly guarded, they often choose to leave rather than continue risking an approach. Alongside control measures, reinforcing farm structures also plays an important role. Fences should be buried deep enough to prevent animals from digging underneath. Coop doors must be securely locked before nightfall. Leftover feed and organic waste around livestock areas should also be cleaned up regularly to avoid attracting wildlife. When food becomes harder to access, the likelihood of foxes returning decreases significantly. In addition to cage traps, some regions also use specialized traps placed directly along fox travel routes. Regardless of the method used, the ultimate goal remains the same: minimizing losses to livestock while maintaining a balance between farming activities and the surrounding environment. If you found this story interesting, leave a comment and share your thoughts. Don't forget to follow the channel to discover more real-life stories about trapping operations, wildlife management efforts, and rural life, where people and nature continue to coexist every day.